Hello, my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves Books. So it feels like yesterday I was filming my June most anticipated releases video, and I think I read four books that were on that list already, but there were so many books and I really want to get to them. And half of the books that I've read so far in 2021 have been new releases because there are just so many incredible books coming out this year, and July is definitely no exception, so let's get right to the book. So let's start with the books that come out on July 6th. And the first one is Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. And Leah Johnson's debut novel was You Should See Me in a Crown, which got so much buzz when it came out last year. And I think I read it in January of 2021 and adored it. It is one of my favorite YA contemporaries. It is just so sweet. And it feels like you are reading a 90s rom-com. I just loved it so much. So I'm hoping Rise to the Sun is the same. And I know that this is following two young girls who are attending a music festival. And I think it takes course over 24 hours or the weekend, and it is them connecting, them falling in love in their romance. So I think that's gonna be really sweet. I love any book that talks about the power of music, where the main characters appreciate music, and I think one of our main characters has lost their father, so they are dealing with that grief throughout the story as well, and music can be healing in that way, so I think this is going to be amazing. Then the next one is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and Elizabeth Lim wrote Spin the Dawn, which was very popular, and I still want to read it because that sounds like such a fun book. I know it's compared to Project Runway, which I'm intrigued by, but this one here it's got a lot of the fairy tale tropes that I love. There's an evil stepmother. Our main character has forbidden magic. She's trying to save her brothers. I believe all her brothers are turned into cranes, and she's trying to find them all, and there's some gorgeous arcs out there. I'm so envious of everybody that received an arc because they are stunning, and I think a lot of us will be reading this book this summer. Then we have a nonfiction by one of my favorite authors who I think a lot of people love on here, and that is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. I love his fiction. The Midnight Library and The Humans are two of my favorite books. I talk about them all the time, but it is his nonfiction that really has stayed with me. How to Stay Alive, I was sent an arc of that a couple years ago, and I've passed that to so many people in my life because there are some essays in there that really hit home. There's one about the beach that I really love, and I just think if you deal with depression or anxiety or any issues with mental health, or you just need something to pick you up, any of his nonfiction is wonderful. And this one, The Comfort Book, even the title alone tells me that it's going to be the kind of book that I and many of us are going to need and love and appreciate. And then the last one for July 6th is Falling by TJ Newman, and this is a thriller, and definitely do not read this on an airplane or if you have a fear of heights, because I'm going to read you the synopsis. It's quick, but it is really captivating, and I think is going to make you want to read this. So it says, you just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 other passengers on board. What you don't know is that 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. For his family to live, everyone in your plane must die. The only way the family will survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. Enjoy your flight. Sounds incredible. Sounds so suspenseful. One of those books I can probably read and will want to read in one sitting. And I don't have a fear of flying, so I think I should be okay with it. And now we're on to July 13th, and the first book is by one of my favorite authors, Becky Chambers, and it is called, I always get the title wrong, so bear with me. It's A Psalm for the Wild Built, and it is a monk and robot book. So it's the first book in a series, and I've heard that it's very comforting, very sweet. I think it gives you the very similar vibes to A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, because though those are heavy sci-fi books, they're very character driven. You fall in love with the characters and their relationships with one another. And I believe in this world, we're following a monk who discovers a robot, and robots have left in humans many years before. So I'm just intrigued by the whole thing, and early reviews have been amazing. The next one is one that I feel like I've talked about so many times because I've been waiting for it for ages. It's been on many of my most anticipated lists, and that is XOXO by Axio. And this is a YA contemporary romance, and I am not a huge K-pop fan. That's not really fair to say because I haven't really listened to much of it, but I know that a lot of people are, and this is going to appeal to a lot of people. But what I really love about it is that it follows a young girl who is an artist. I believe she's a musician. She plays the cello, and anybody that has a passion for the arts I will read about. I have said that many times, it's my favorite thing. And she meets somebody in the US, they have a bit of a fling, and then he moves back to Japan, and then she goes to Japan on like an arts program and runs into him and realizes that he's a famous K-pop singer. And I guess there are a lot of rules that go along with that, and it's their love story. The next one is one that I'm so excited about, and it looks like the perfect summer read. It's called It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And I hadn't realized this beforehand, but Heather from Bookables talked about this. She had read an arc, and she said that the main character in this, I believe her name is Piper, is based on Alexis from Schitt's Creek. I adore Schitt's Creek. Actually, my dad introduced me to it season 1, so I've been watching it for a long time, and I rewatch it all the time. I watch it every night, and I just adore Alexis. I love to see her growth and her change, but really remain true to herself, and she's just the best character. So I'm curious to see how Piper compares to her, and then just the setting of this one looks really interesting. And I believe Piper, in a similar thing, is being sent to a smaller town away from LA, and she meets somebody, they fall in love. Just can't wait to read it. It's gonna be a perfect beach read for me. Next one is by an author who I discovered last year and who really helped me fall in love with horror, and that is Grady Hendrix. And this one is the Final Girl Support Group. And I'm always interested in the Final Girl trope. I did read Final Girls by Riley Sager. There are things I liked about it, things I didn't like about it, but I'm curious to see what Grady Hendrix does with this story. It's impossible not to compare the two, because even the synopsises seem similar. All these final girls come together for therapy and support, and then one of them goes missing, and they're trying to figure out what happens here. But there's something about Grady Hendrix writing that really works for me. I love that it's campy, a little bit different, so I'm really curious about that one, and I know a lot of people have that on their list. I didn't realize just how many books were coming out on July 13th. It is going to be a wild release day. And the next one I have here is While We Were Dating by Jasmine Guillory. And I was sent an arc of the wedding date pretty early on in my book blogging life, and it was such a nice surprise. I really fell in love with it. I like the consent that was in there. I like that with Jasmine Guillory's books, you kind of know what to expect. They're always fun for me. I think I'm a couple books behind at this point, but I've said it a couple times that I like romances where there are celebrities involved, and I think that's the case in this one, so excited about it. And the next one is actually the third book in a series that I haven't read yet, and that is called The Wings of Shadow. But I had the first 2 books, and the first one is The Crown of Feathers, and I would really just love to marathon the whole series this summer. So my plan is to buy this one as soon as it comes out, then I can just read them straight through. They're bigger books, but I've heard amazing things about them, and I'm really in the mood for them. They're just calling my name, and I know that there's phoenixes involved in here, and I don't really know what the third one's about because I haven't even read the first one. But I know a lot of people are going to be reading this in July, and I cannot wait to marathon the series myself. Okay, 2 more for July 13th. The first one is The Taking of Jack Livingston, and this is by Ryan Douglas. And this is a newer one to me, but I've seen it go around a little bit lately. And the cover caught my eye, and I do like a little bit of spookiness in the summer months. I don't know what that's about, but I know I'm not the only one. And this one obviously follows Jake Livingston, and I believe he's possessed by a ghost. I have read a lot of ghost books, but I don't know that I've ever read one where the character is actually possessed by a ghost. So that is one I'm really looking forward to. And I believe that he can see ghosts. That's kind of his thing, but I don't know that he's ever been possessed by one. And I'm really hoping I'm gonna love it. And then the last one for July 13th is When We Were Strangers, and this is by Alex Richards. And this, it seems to me like a more hard-hitting contemporary. It's got a lot of the tropes that I like. Our main character realizes that her father was cheating on her mother, was planning to leave her mother, and then her father dies before he gets a chance to leave, so she unpacks her father's bags and keeps that secret, and kind of begins to form an obsession with her father's mistress. And I think it's it looks at grief and how do you move on, and keeping secrets in families, the complications of families. I think it's going to be very hard-hitting. I'm curious to see how it's done, but I love the cover as well, and I haven't heard much about this one, but I'm curious. Now on to July 20th, and the first one is a nonfiction. It's called The Cult of We, and that is by Elliot Brown and Maureen Farrell. So I don't read a lot of business books, but I don't know anything about WeWork. I think I heard some of the drama at the time, but something about this one reminds me of Bad Blood, and if you read Bad Blood, you'll know how good it is. So well researched, so interesting. So I think this WeWork story is kind of similar, where we're following the owner of the company and their downfall and the secrets they kept, and I've heard some good things already, so I bet you that'll be incredible on audio. And I did listen to Bad Blood the summer that it came out, and I have distinct memories of it, so I'm hoping I get the same feeling from The Cult of We. And then I've never read anything by Samantha Downing. I know a lot of people love her thrillers. I know The Lovely Wife was huge, but I'm picky about thrillers. I don't pick them up as often as I should, but this one sounds really intriguing, and it's called For Your Own Good. And this one follows a teacher, which I always think is interesting to have a thriller inside a school. And I'm going to read you the synopsis for this one because it's, again, for thrillers, I think the synopsis can really sell you on it. So this one says, Teddy Crutcher has won Teacher of the Year at the esteemed Belmont Academy, home to the best and brightest. He says his wife couldn't be more proud, though no one has seen her in a while. Teddy really can't be bothered with the death of a student school parent that's looking more and more like murder, or the student digging a little too deep into Teddy's personal life. His main focus is on pushing the kids to their fullest potential. All he wants is for his colleagues and the endlessly meddlesome parents to stay out of his way. It's really too bad that sometimes excellence can come at such a high cost. So it doesn't really tell you a lot there, but it's going to be sinister, and I'm intrigued by A Teacher Gone Bad. Now the last one that comes out on July 20th that I'm excited for is She Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, and I've seen this everywhere already. It's already getting a lot of buzz, and all I really know about it is that it is said to be a mix between Mulan and A Song of Achilles. So yep, I'm gonna read that one. Actually, I have one more for July 20th, and that is The River Has Teeth by Erica Waters. Now I don't know why this intrigues me so much. I think there's something with the cover that really caught my eye, but it is also about a main character whose sister is missing, and I have really found that that is a trope that I love. I don't know what it is. I love sisters stories, but if one of them is missing, that's even more interesting to me. I just read The Ones We're Meant to Find has that. Even Monday's Not Coming, they're not sisters, but they're like sisters. There's just something about that works for me, that keeps me turning the pages. So it says, Natasha's sister is missing. She'll do anything to find answers, but Della has her own secrets to hide. Natasha is angry. Della has little to lose. So don't know much, but I think it's going to be a good one. Now I have two books for July 27th, and then we can wrap this up. And they're both by authors I've read from before. So the first one is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. And I read The House of Salt and Sorrows when it first came out for a buddy read on Instagram, and I didn't think I was going to like it that much, but oh, I fell in love with it. It's so atmospheric and creepy. That one is a retelling of the 20 Dancing Princesses, and it's so well done. I was so surprised, and everybody in our book club adored it as well. So I'm excited about her newest book, Small Favors. All I really know about this one is that it's set in a town that's surrounded by woods, and there are monsters in those woods, and I think the team that is gone to go get supplies goes missing, and the monsters are starting to intrude. So I think this seems very different from her first book, but will have the same kind of tone and atmosphere, and I cannot wait to read it. I hope that my buddy read group on Instagram decides to pick this one up. Now this last book is one that I have conflicting feelings about because I really was surprised by how much I liked the first book. I really did not like the second book, so I have conflicting feelings about the third one, but it's God and Monsters, and the first book was Serpent and Dove. And I again read it with the same group that I read The House of Salt and Sorrows, and I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It was really romance heavy, but I thought that the main characters had great banter. I loved that she was secretly a witch and he was a witch hunter. But then the second book, can't even remember what it's called at this point. They felt like I was reading about different characters. Their dynamic had shifted a lot, but then it ended on a cliffhanger, one of my favorite characters, so I can't just leave it. I can't just stop. I have to know what happens in the third book, and I'm sure that buddy read group will want to read it as well. And none of us really like the second book, but it'll be interesting to see how the story wraps up, particularly because I know the author intended it to be a duology, but the publishers wanted it to be a trilogy because the first one was so successful. So I feel like the second one did suffer from that second book slump, but I hope that it ends on a good note. So those are all the books that I'm excited about in July, and I'm sure there are more that I've missed. I actually know that I left a few off of here because it would just be too long. So let me know if you're excited about any of these, if you were lucky enough to read them already, or which ones I missed and you're excited about. I'd love to talk about new books. It's kind of one of my favorite things. So let's have a discussion in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for your time. I'll chat to you again soon. Bye for now.